Well, if you're wondering if Top Gun Maverick could be the wingman the first movie needed and deserved, then wonder no longer, because Top Gun Maverick was glorious! What up, guys? Bobo here with BrassReel Brothers. And thanks for coming back for some more popcorns. Hey, so real quick, if you haven't done so already, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the like button. Woo! My partner Andrew and I went and saw Top Gun Maverick last night. All I gotta say is it was perfect. It literally was a perfect follow-up to the first film. It couldn't have been more Top Gun than it was. We got a spoiler discussion that's probably already out on the channel right now, but I just had to give my quick review and go over just some of the specifics of the film real quick and just tell you what I loved about it. And maybe you don't want to hear any spoilers yet. So first off, Andrew and I were like totally in agreement on this. It was kind of like Christmas Day for us. We were just prepping the entire day. I had Top Gun special features on Blu-ray the entire day while I was editing stuff. The day before, I watched it and did a review for the first one. And when we got there, we got these sweet Top Gun Maverick posters, which are badass. And these awesome pins right here. I think you can see that. I think I got it cool and close enough. Those are just awesome too. Little things like that, I love the swag that comes along with everything. But it doesn't matter how much swag you get before the movie if the movie isn't good. Well, I tell you what, this movie was excellent. Like I said, it was just such an homage to Tony Scott and everything that he had set forth in the first one. They followed that to the letter in this one as far as trying to make it feel connected, and it did. It was really beautiful not to see Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt, and with the director Christopher McQuarrie taking over, who did the last two Mission Impossibles, it was nice to see this movie not feel like a Mission Impossible film. It felt like a Top Gun movie. I mean, right from the get-go when you're in this, it feels like you're back in Top Gun. I don't know any other way to explain it. Look, it wasn't a reboot. It wasn't trying to make something new for a new young audience and try to be like, what do we do now to sell this to other people? This was for the people that love Top Gun. And it just, the whole time, you're loving it. Hans Zimmer does the score for it, but he does it in a very respectful fashion where it feels Top Gun-ish. I mean, I'm talking the very second that it opens up, you're just like, oh, Andrew and I looked at each other and we're like, oh, shit. And if you guys know anything about Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson, who now it's just Jerry Bruckheimer because Don Simpson died a long time ago, but he did Top Gun with him. It used to say a Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer production. Now it just says a Jerry Bruckheimer production. But in front of this movie, it said a Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer production, which I thought was really cool and respectful because this would have been one of Don Simpson's dream to see this movie come to light in such a badass way. Because it was great, man. It told the story in a way that was believable, like it needed to be told. It didn't seem like a cash grab at all. And there were all these cool moments that were throwbacks to the original film, including like specific one-liners. But the way it was done, it was just so like not cheesy. It was really, the best way I could describe it is elegantly and eloquently done. Like it was just so good and heartwarming, and the story is good. You get wrapped up into the characters. Jennifer Connelly, you don't just get another girl that's thrown in the mix so Tom Cruise can have somebody ride on the motorcycle with him. No, she's a significant character to the movie, to Tom Cruise's character Pete Mitchell. Not to mention, she just gets prettier the older she gets. But Tom Cruise does a really good job at portraying Pete Mitchell in this. Instead of you seeing this sort of like hard-ass Ethan Hunt character that you've sort of seen in the past few movies and just sort of gotten used to because he's been Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise has just been Mission Impossible. But in this movie, you really feel like you're watching a continuation of the character you saw in the original Top Gun movie. The entire film feels like that. Tony Scott was one of my favorite directors of all time, and if you watch my Top Gun review, the first movie review, you see that. I talk about him pretty hardcore in that. Because he was one of the main reasons this movie looked and felt the way it felt to begin with, and I'm talking about the original. But he's also the main reason this second movie felt and looked the way it did, because they were clearly paying homage and tribute to Tony Scott in this, not only by the way it looked, by the way it felt, but by the way it sounded. And even at the very end, it just says, in loving memory of Tony Scott. That's the last thing you see before the actual credits go up. Just the way they do all these close-up shots and everything, just very Tony Scott-esque. And to me, that's what made the movie. That's what made it feel so connected to the first film. And look, I'm talking about the characters and everything because you do get wrapped up in the characters. And I think that that's what it takes for a really good movie to exist. You can have all the stunts and the scenes and the action that you want, which this movie does still have that. but you have to love the characters. But then when you get the action in this movie, it's phenomenal. And look, if there was CGI in this, I couldn't see it. Obviously, I'm sure there was some CG here and there just to touch up some things, but at its core, this movie was capturing things in film. Everything you see on the screen, they were filming it. Like all the jet scenes, it's just so awesome. And you can tell, you can feel it, and it makes the movie feel that much more real. In a world where we live in movies that are just so CGI put together and glued together, they all start to kind of look the same. You forget that sometimes back in the day, what made a movie is the way they captured things in film, and that's sort of what gave it its personality back then. And this movie, just like the original Top Gun, it does that because it's all stuff that they captured in the camera. Beautifully shot, beautifully put together. I mean, look, you will be enjoying the hell out of this. If you were a fan of the first movie, I guarantee you're gonna love this movie. And on top of all that stuff, you get some stuff that's really emotional and heartfelt. Miles Teller does a great job as Goose's son, Rooster, and all the other new crew, they do a great job too. And it just has a really organic feel the entire way through the film, to where I don't feel like it was a cash grab. I feel like it really was something that was a great addition to the Top Gun legacy. The way they pay tribute and homage to Val Kilmer, his character, and the actor, you just have to see what I'm talking about, but just beautifully, beautifully done. And one more cool thing I want to say about this movie too is that the first movie, they were just at a flight school, and that kind of thing happened at the end where they just all of a sudden had to go take care of a mission. But then that entire movie was about them being at the Top Gun flight school. Whereas this one, they're actually training for a serious mission from the get-go, and it's something that's pretty hardcore. And I just think it adds a little bit more gravity to the film that the first one didn't have. And another thing that this movie does that a lot of movies are doing these days is they're kind of doing like this little thing that's like a fourth act. Like you'll get through the third act, what feels like it should be over, but then all of a sudden they just give you this sort of like bonus thing. Kind of like when a band that you go see live does like an encore, or you have that sort of like hidden track on an album or something like that. It's a little extra that just added so much more to the film, and just by the time you got out of it, like I said, in some movies you don't have that feeling to where you're like, yeah, when you get out. Some movies you're just kind of like, oh, that was all right. When I got out of this movie, I was stoked. I was pumped up, super satisfied. Top Gun Maverick, A+. Go see this movie. If you're a fan of Top Gun, you're gonna love it. If you're not a fan of Top Gun and never just got into it, I bet you'll still love it, and you'll want to go see the first one. Well, that'll do it for this review, guys. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it. And if you haven't done so already, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can help us make it to the top. And as always, if life gives you lemons, make some hot, fresh popcorns.